Okay, it's time to begin. Can I have a quick show of hands to let me know if you can hear me right? Participants? Okay, perfect. Well, welcome everyone. Good morning. We are hosting our second webinar of the virtual job search series today. My name is Nosheen. I work with Ignite Fredericton as a population growth and workforce development specialist. And we have Laurie here today with us, who's going to conduct the session. Before I introduce Laurie, just a couple of housekeeping tips. Please keep your microphones mute at all times during the session. If you want to ask a question, you can use the chat box. We have purposely kept the videos off to avoid any distraction. Today, we're going to talk about some strategies to make the most of our social media networks, which is the norm of the time. We all have huge networks on social media, but not all of us necessarily know how to make the most of it professionally, or to help it aid our job search. And that is where Laurie's expertise is going to come in. Laurie, thank you for joining us today. For those of you who were with us last time, you know him already. For those of us who decided to join us today, I will give a quick intro to Laurie. Laurie is a certified professional management consultant. He is the founding member of Kensington Associates, and he's a graduate of the University of New Brunswick in the Human Resource Management program. And he has worked with a variety of organizations, big organizations in senior management positions, and has also been featured as a keynote speaker in multiple business publications. So without further ado, Laurie, the floor is yours.
Can everybody hear me now? Yes, we're good? Good morning, everybody. How are you all today? So, welcome back. We are today talking about, and if I could just get a quick heads up through the chat room, if everybody can hear me okay. Is everybody all right? Yes. All right, Disha, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, listen, at some point during this discussion, I'll likely go off track and start talking about things that don't make sense. And if that happens, just in the chat room, send me a little note and say, hey, slow down. So the first order of business, welcome everybody. I hope you're all safe. I hope everybody is staying well during these times. It's a little bit, a little unsettling, but like all the other times in the province of New Brunswick, we will get through this. We will get through this together. So today I want to thank Nosheen and Ignite for organizing this session so that we can get together and talk about some of the importances of social media. The first paradigm you're going to find in this discussion this morning is me. What is the old guy doing talking to us about social media? I bet you he can't even spell Facebook. I have to admit, when this thing started, I wasn't on a lot of them. I didn't do a lot of this stuff. My son was on it. Everybody was enjoying it. Until I discovered at one point, somebody had reached out to me and said, Laurie, can I be in your LinkedIn network? And I thought, well, I need to start looking at what networks are all about, because it seems that things are happening and people are communicating stuff and I'm out of the loop. So I started looking into a lot of social media, and this would be probably about 7 or 8 years ago, to understand what they are and how they work and what they can do. And I found two things about social media. One is it's tremendously useful. We can transmit a lot of information. We can find out a lot of information about people. We can communicate with people. We can get messages across. This is a wonderful thing. I also found out that it's a very dangerous tool. It can be a very embarrassing tool. It can put you in situations that you don't want to be in, and it can falsely represent who you are and what you believe in. Quick examples of that are we are currently sourcing for a series of positions, everything from chief executive officers down to and including program designers and accounting people. And we get a lot of interest over sites like LinkedIn, over sites like Indeed, which allow us now to connect people with jobs relatively quickly. The wonderful part about that is I received a lot of really interesting applications through social media. Some of these people wanted to be friends on my LinkedIn network right away. The good, the bad, and the indifferent of that is when people start to link you up and you start to say, yes, I want to be friends with you, and yes, I want to do these things, they can start to tag you on things that they're doing. I'll always remember, and I apologize for this, but I'm going to use my son for an example. He came to me during his education time. My son is 31. And he said, Dad, when I'm done here in high school, I want to fly planes. And I thought, well, son, your mother works at the University of Moncton, and I can get you an engineering degree for 38 bucks, but I don't know anybody in flight school, and that's a very expensive process. So are you sure you don't want to be an engineer? And his whole thing was, nope, Dad, want to be a pilot, want to be a pilot. So we started looking into this, and I started doing research. And anybody have any idea what percentage of students that enter flight college end up flying? His big thing was 767s. Any idea? On the chat room, just type in what percentage you think of pilots entering flight school end up on 767s as pilots, as commercial pilots. Anybody? %5. What? You people are cheating. You went in and you checked it out. It is. It's the top 5%. Congratulations. Good for you guys. So here's my deal with my son right away. And I'm saying to him, look, the top 5%, as long as you're serious about this, we'll do it. I could have got him an engineering degree for probably, I joked about that, the $37, but very little money because his mom works at the university. Getting him through flight college and doing all of the things that you need to do is somewhere upwards of about $60,000 or $70,000. So we went for it and we said, okay, provided that you want to behave in the top 5%. So here's what happened. In about the first 4 months of his training, he was doing pretty good. He would get ready and he would do his things. And then he would start sliding a little bit on this social media thing. Look at us, we're all at a party, we're idiots, we look like monkeys, we're drinking, we're having a good time. And then one morning, and forgive me for this, but I have to show you how ridiculous this was. He was out on a Thursday night, late. And I thought, holy crap, Mitch, like you got school tomorrow. So anyway, he staggers in around 3 o'clock, and then he stumbles down around 7:30 in the morning with a hoodie on, and all half dressed and looking all scruffy. And I'm like, Mitch, where are you going? He's like, oh man, Dad, everybody's like this at school, man. And I said, well, we need to have a discussion, man. You need to take this seriously. Our deal was that if you performed in the top 5%, we would continue to fund your education. So if you want to stay connected to this, you need to pay particular attention to what you look like, both in public and on social media. So get your butt upstairs, look presentable, and or you can continue doing what you're doing, but you're on your own. You're not going to get the support of those professional people that are looking to support you through the process. My message here, through my long-winded my son story, is he was truly upset with me that day. He wasn't feeling good. He was hungover. He didn't need the old man giving him a lecture, but he did need the old man's wallet. So at the end of the day, he conformed, went up, did his thing, and today we laugh about it because I was on him the whole time for not just what you look like, but your social media page. And in his life, at his point in time, at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, it's all about having a good time, and it's all about posting stuff, and it's all about saying, look how ridiculous this stunt was, look how crazy these things are. And I get it, it's very popular. I like some of those things. I look at them and I laugh. The difference, I can look at them and laugh today because I'm not looking to be hired by anybody. As a matter of fact, I'm looking to retire from things soon. So at the end of the day, when I go look at these people, I'm going to check these things out. I'm going to check out their website. I'm going to check out their postings. I'm going to check out what's happening with them. Why? Because I want to know if they understand the media that they're posting on. I want to understand if they understand the media and the communication that they're sending to everybody. I was quite surprised. And just to let you all know, he did really well, and through real good work of his own, is in the top 5% and is a commercial pilot for WestJet on 767s. So at the end of the day, paying attention to all of this stuff paid off. He went up pretty quick and he worked really hard and he's done well. So proud papa. The most interesting part of this story comes down to last week. One of the kids that used to come and hang around with Mitch, he was like our second son, works in Toronto, has a really good job, and is off on a leave of absence because of things that are beyond his control. You know, he's got a few issues that he has to deal with. My son called me the other day and he said, "Dad, did you see this guy's post on Facebook?" Which had him and his fiance with a drink, which was cool, you know, hey, just chilling, having a drink, doing our thing. And then they had a bag of weed. And our first, you know, weed delivery, gonna be a good night. So the challenge becomes, I'm struggling, and it's probably legit that I can't work. But the message is, I can drink and I can smoke weed and I can have a good time. Show of hands, how many people here think that's a good idea? The message was a simple one. It was just him and his fiance going like, hey, we're about to have a good night. But at the end of the day, that particular social media is going to get picked up by a lot of people, potentially his boss. So I come back to where the platforms become an interesting choice on which you want to deal with. There are platforms that are very, very social. You take Facebook, people post everything. You know, there's some people, we go on Facebook and we look at it and it becomes interesting because they're posting everything from, hey, I made 120 cookies today, to I just finished picking my nose. All of those things become interesting and social, and they're not good, bad, or indifferent. They just do some things. Some websites tried to differentiate themselves a little bit. Some of the platforms wanted to be a little bit different. So you get into things like LinkedIn. LinkedIn wants to become a professional platform where you exchange professional comments, you post professional things. If you go into LinkedIn, although you will find it once in a while, you don't find a lot of recipes, you don't find a lot of I baked 100 cookies, and you don't find these things. So the interesting part about Facebook to LinkedIn to then Twitter, when I can follow you all day long and you can tweet out to me what you're doing every single second of the day. From a professional standpoint, and I only want to talk to you about the professional standpoint because I think from a social perspective, it's a good thing to have an outlet. From a social perspective, it's a good thing to laugh at ourselves, and it's a good thing to laugh with and at others. From a professional perspective, be a little bit careful of that. We are not being Big Brother where there's a camera down on you and we're spying on you every day, but we are curious about what you like to see posted and what you think is appropriate and what you think is not. And if you don't think that's guiding some people's perception on who you are, that's cool, keep doing it. But I'm here to tell you that as a professional recruiter who is out doing these things, who is talking to people every day, they are paying attention. And I'm going to tell you why, and then we're going to open the floor for a minute and take some of your questions, because I don't want this to be a dissertation from Laurie. I want this to be participatory. Today, people are just trying to determine, and we're going to talk about this in a week, what employers are looking for in the next cast. I'm going to seed that a little bit today to say employers are just looking for any kind of responsible people. We have employers who are telling us that are people that apply for the job, they get to the job, they start doing the job, first day on the job, the break comes, they go to the break room or they go outside for a cigarette and they don't come back. Other things are they do the first shift in the morning, they go home for lunch, they don't come back. Did they call? Did they let you know? Did they anything? Nope. They book appointments, they book interviews. An employer will schedule 6 interviews in a day. 2 show up. The other 4 just fill it in because I have to send to EI that they're applying places. It's very expensive to recruit, hire, and train somebody. So one of the things that you look for right away from the applicants are, do they have social presence on the web? Sorry, we're looking at it. And in that social presence on the web, what do you find? And it's okay to find recipes. It's okay to find all kinds of stuff. And it's even okay to find yourself out having a good time, having fun. The danger is when people that don't realize the importance of social media start tagging you. And they start tagging you in very embarrassing pictures, and they start tagging you in all kinds of funny things, then it's not so interesting anymore. So the only message that I'm trying to get across today is, if at some point you intend to apply professionally through LinkedIn, through anything else, through Indeed, through other places, will people check on my social media? Yes. Will they tell you they're doing it? Probably not. Are we going to do it anyway? You bet. So I'm going to open the floor to the participants to see if anybody has any questions in the chat room about what is and isn't appropriate, what is or isn't professional conduct. How do we best utilize social media? Any questions from anybody or comments? Anybody think I'm nuts? So I'm not sure. I'm not seeing anything coming in either on the Q&A or on the chat room. So I'm just curious if I can get any, oh, Jennifer, I agree with your saying. I am looking for work as an admin assistant. What would I include in a portfolio? It's always interesting. It's always interesting, Jennifer. In somebody's portfolio, what we're looking for is just the basics. We're going to send out a job profile, and we're just looking for the basics of how you respond to that job profile. So in your portfolio, I would include a resume and a cover letter for 2 reasons. The reason I want the cover letter is I want to see how you write. I just want to see how you join ideas together. Most of the time, people have received some form of professional assistance to write the letter and the resume. We'll probably notice that right away. But you don't get penalized if it's not super professional. We're looking to see how you present these things in your portfolio. So short, succinct, and we don't buy it by the pound. So responding to the type of employment that you're looking for, and responding to things that are important to an admin assistant. I don't know if you have any accounting background right now. If you do have an accounting background, go on LinkedIn. We're looking for an assistant controller. It's posted, it's on there, and if you do, I encourage you to do that. Marlene is saying, do you find it more prudent or suspicious when somebody locks their profile? Either or. The difference when your profile is locked is on one side, you're probably being prudent. You're sharing it with people that you know and trust. On the other side, it locks up an ability for somebody to get to know you. Anise is asking, on approaching LinkedIn connections without their consent. I often get this. I get people wanting to be friends with me on LinkedIn because they're applying for a position. And they're thinking, hey, if I become friends with this guy, it's probably a good thing. I'll let you know that I would not accept somebody as friends on LinkedIn that is just applying for a position. I've never heard of them. I don't know who they are. For me, it's not about growing how many connections I have in LinkedIn. It's about growing connections that we all find useful in LinkedIn. I can tell you that I communicate with all of the people on LinkedIn that I'm hooked up with, and we share and help each other all the time. So for information interviews, I like LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn better than other social platforms when it comes to anything to do with profession, interviews, or hiring practices. Okay, Chris, I understand everything you've said. It's the general stuff, I agree. We're waiting for something specific, such as how to best use LinkedIn and whether or not a person should submit a general resume on some of the websites, such as Indeed. Okay, here's a specific. When you give your resume to the people at Indeed and the people at LinkedIn, you are the fruit of their gains. You're free to post, you're free to go, you're free to put it in there. We pay as employers to go in and gain access to their database. So submitting a general resume on LinkedIn or on Indeed is very much a very good idea. Because what happens is they have algorithms that are going to link my description of what I'm looking for with the job positions or the job resumes that they have. So unless you have sort of general resume posting on either one of those sites, we'll never find you. So yes, the best way to use LinkedIn and the best way to use Indeed on a general resume is to be honest about your general resume. What do you have to offer? What are your greatest strengths? Because the algorithms are going to match you up with people that are posting. In the 3 postings that we have on these websites, I can tell you today that between ZipRecruiter, Indeed, and LinkedIn, we have received 38 job descriptions today alone for 3 job postings that we have. So yes, put your resume on LinkedIn, put your resume on Indeed, put your resume in ZipRecruiter. They use that to attract people like us that are recruiting for people. We will also use our group of LinkedIn friends. We'll post it on our own site, and they will repost it again. Disha asks, maybe it's a topic that can be discussed later. Using LinkedIn has several sections: experience, skills, accomplishments. How much information is too much? And what should be avoided when entering the standard profile? Excellent question. The more skills and accomplishments you put in, the more they're going to use that to link you to specific recruiters. Here's the deal. Some recruiters only want applications that exactly meet their requirement. Ergo, as much as you have an ability to list elements in each one of those experience, skills boxes, accomplishments, and the rest, We have the ability to screen and say, we want this, 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 this. One of the problems that we've realized by screening and doing this, 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 that algorithm locks into those things you've listed. If you list too many of them and you miss too many of our things, you will not be included. The person that listed none at all is going to get included. So the danger in listing too many of these information sections as they ask for, how much information is too much information? It's too much information if you provide me with an 11-page resume, and it can be too much information on the specific site you're on because they will use that as a qualifier in their algorithm to match up. Where you're going to get freed up from that is a lot of recruiters are going to look for one or two of those skill sets, experience, accomplishments, and they're going to say required. If they say desired, then you'll pass. If they say required and you don't have it, you're out. But a lot of times we want to triage you there anyway. So for argument's sake, if I say I want a minimum 2 years experience required, if your experience says I have 1 year experience, I'm a recent graduate, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a everything else, you're out. If I list those things as desired, they will put you in, but they will also put people in that don't necessarily have it. Some employers like that because they want to have a large number of people to pull from. Some hirers don't want it at all because they get a lot of tire kickers and they get a lot of people that are looking for it. And like I said, they'll get 172 applications where you really have half a dozen that qualify. So they'll have to triage all of that and they don't like it. So the choice is yours on how much information to put on these profiles now that you understand how the profiles are being used. Is that clear, Adisha? Did that help? Okay, perfect. There is a question on the Q&A. And it says, I have a question, how to connect and build the relationship with professionals in LinkedIn. Difficult to build strong relationships and grow my network on LinkedIn. It is. And I'll tell you, of all of the social media sites, I believe LinkedIn is probably the most scrutinized among members. It is a domain that some of us have found that allow us a bit of chat space, discussion space, communication space that is shared among peers. So we actually, when we put it out there, we get some relatively good information back. So we look for the ability to power up in our professional relationships with people that are like-minded, with people that we think can help us. So one of the things that I would recommend to you is to look for people that you recognize on LinkedIn, become their friends, start to participate in a few of the postings, start to participate in a few of the chats, and then other people will invite you into their networks because they find relevance in some of the things that you're saying and what you're talking about, and they would like to have you to be able to share with their contacts the things that they find interesting about you. So look for that, look for somebody you know, look for somebody you can link with, start participating a little bit, and then you'll find that people will be inviting you in because they find what you have to say interesting and they would like to share that with the people that they're connected with. So if I come back to the chat room, Jennifer, do you recommend signing up to work from home on such companies like FlexJobs? I noticed that they charge a fee. I don't know FlexJobs. I know that people are working a lot more from home right now. And we're warned that, hey, a lot of people aren't going to want to go back to the office. A lot of companies are going to say, hey, why are we spending money on office space? Why do we want people to come back? Here's the deal. Some people can work from home. Some people work extremely well from home. Some are challenged. They have a hard time working from home because of the personal situation and things that are happening around home, or just don't work well from home because look, ooh, squirrel, oh, laundry, ooh, this, ooh, that. And some people just find it a struggle. I don't know Flex Jobs, but I'm thinking that's a site that's set up specifically for recruiters that are looking for people that want flexibility, that want the rest. They're going to find you anywhere in these free sites anyway. We have, and you will notice in these sites, an ability to say people can work from home, people can work flex time. In the one we're doing right now, these sites are so up to date that they say, do you allow, they actually ask the specific question to potential employers, do you allow people to work from home during COVID-19? So that's how up to date these things become. And I know they don't charge a fee. And we can say that, yes, during certain periods, flexible work from home is appropriate. Do recruiters and hiring managers actively use LinkedIn to search for candidates? I can tell you unequivocally, in my network of people, a lot of us are HR, a lot of us are recruiters. We are not professional recruiters for anybody. We are professional recruiters for our own clients. It's our own client base that we recruit for. We don't just actively recruit for a company that'll call us up and say, hey, I'm looking for this. These are clients that we've worked with over the years, and these are clients we recruit with. In my network of professionals, there are professional recruiters, that's all they do. And both of us very actively use LinkedIn, yes. Chris says, I have always designed the resumes to the job for which am I applying. I have a diverse experience, skills, and interests. Is there anywhere to have my general resume reviewed and critiqued? Absolutely. I would be happy to do that for you. If you want to, through Ignite Fredericton, Noshim has my email. She will send it to me. I will gladly look at it for you. I can tell you a few tricks right now. On your diverse experience and skills, and by the way, it is always a good idea to tailor your resume to a specific application. So let's say, for instance, I'm looking for this particular job. I can then tailor my resume to meet that job. Where you lose that ability is when you post that general resume on LinkedIn and on Indeed and everywhere else, because it will pick the resume that you submitted. So it will go to all of those generalities, see what it has, plug it in. You can then follow up later on if you wanted to and submit a more tailored resume, but you're going to live or die by the initial one anyway, because whether or not you make triage on the first round, and everybody understands that there are rounds of selection process. So in this first hit, when we go to social media and we look at your social media page and we looked at LinkedIn and we looked at other things, that's for triage of round one. When you make it to round two, that's when you start discussing actual job descriptions and first round interviews and all the rest of these things. So at the end of the day, Chris, you make a very good point. As my resume becomes more general, I get likely more hits on Indeed and on Zip and on places like LinkedIn, because of that logarithm that matches words and sentences with the resume and the job application that we put in, which is why when we do it, we have a job posting. The job posting is very different than the job application. Our job posting is designed to highlight a way to get at those key elements within the resumes so that we can get the best resume sent to us. So I'd be happy to do it and have your general resume reviewed and critiqued. If you think there's value in having me do that, I would gladly do that for you. You're welcome. There is nothing on the Q&A, and that's the chat. Any other questions that anybody might have? What are your recommendations when you're looking for work elsewhere than social media, I assume? Oh boy. There are, another city. We have resumes that come in from all over because, of course, matching those algorithms, they match us with people from all over the world. I'll be honest with you right now, about half a dozen resumes that came in, we're looking for a computer programmer, came in from Abidjan and Africa and all over. Will those get first triage? No. We have a lot of local applications, and when I say local, you know, we'll definitely go outside the province. There's people from Alberta that applied. There's people from New York that have applied. There's people from Ontario that have applied that can, you know, respond to and become part of the pool of applicants. But the problem becomes, we start, to be honest with you, here's the process: a local first within 100 kilometers. Then we go to provincial, then we go to maritime, then we go Atlantic, then we go outside. Unless somebody really strikes you from Ontario or Quebec and you say like, oh my God, or Nova Scotia right off the bat, and you say, wow, that's close enough. This person nailed it. They got it right on. If you're looking for work elsewhere, the nice part about it is your resume will hit potential employers before you know they're actually looking for a job. And that's the wonders of social media. That's the wonders of having your resume posted on Indeed, posted on all the free sites that'll post your resume are going to end up finding people that are looking for work that you know you have no idea they're looking. So from another city, you're doing it exactly the right way. Do it through LinkedIn, do it through Zip, do it through the rest, and it'll find its way. Carola, how many pages do you recommend for a resume? 3 max. 3 is long. I don't want to read through 12 pages of resume. By the way, hint, we won't. We look for qualifications and we figure that in the first 2 or 3 pages. If you can't capture me and want me to call you for a discussion, it's not past 3 pages that you're going to gain our interest. And some people like to talk about everything they've ever done. And I want to know what the highlights are. I want to know what you're proud of. I want to know what you've accomplished. I want to know what qualifications you have. Very briefly, how can you tell me about yourself in 3 pages that will impress me enough to make me want to reach out for more? That's exactly what that first round is all about. How can you attract me to make me want to reach out to learn more? How do I learn more about you? I'm curious about you. Do that in 3 pages max. You're welcome. Any challenges you're having so far with online applications, social media? Don't be afraid to block people you don't want to have as part of your social media. We do it all the time. There's people that ask that want to come in. We know what they're all about, and it's no, not really, not here, not with us. So don't be afraid to do that. You know, it's you're into your professional career now. You need to look out for you, and you need to look out for the people that you're going to be working with. Let them know that you understand that. In passing, when I was starting my career, I would have loved to have had social media. It would have been such an incredible tool for us to have. We had one dial telephone in the house. and 4 kids and 1 bike, so you can understand what was happening in my neighborhood. We were super impressed when we got a push-button phone, let alone a rotary dial phone. So had we had this stuff, it's brilliant. I think it's wonderful, but I also think it's dangerous. And if you don't pay attention to it, it can do you some harm without you even knowing it's doing you harm. But it can also do you an awful lot of good without you knowing it's doing a lot of good, because people that are looking to hire are being exposed to your resume that you have no idea that they have it right now. I have printed off this morning about 8 resumes from people that have applied, and they don't even know I have their job yet. I have a question on how can social media for immigrants requiring Canadian experience. All right, I've applied for a federal job. Wasn't very helpful. They told me they no longer offer assistance with online applications. The struggle with assistance and online applications and experience requirements for new immigrants. Listen, I get it. You're up against the wall. The federal government has just a plethora of applicants coming in from Canadian citizens, immigrants, people, everybody through walks of life that want to get that wonderful federal job. The online applications that they use are a process of triage. The assistance that they want to provide, to be absolutely honest with you, are going to be to those applicants that have triggered that. I want to know more about these people. I want to go to round 2. They've made triage. During the triage process, they'll give you very little help. I'll be fair with you. There's people that have reached out to me that applied on LinkedIn, and then they sent me an email and said, hey, I'm interested in this job. It's a wonderful thing. I'd like to discuss more. Would you reach out to me? And I do. And I reach out and I say, listen, wonderful. Thanks for your interest in this position. Could you send me a resume? It will go into part of the first round triage. Those people who get to the second round will be contacted. And the process should take about 3 weeks. And that's it. So the fact that they weren't very helpful in applying for assistance with online applications, it's a triage process. They want you to get through it on your own. They want you to see if you can navigate the pain. And then after that, they want to see if there's anything in there that will incite them to want to learn more. Another question is, what is the strengths of having a Twitter network? I've seen it can be professional, but it can quickly turn into noise. We don't use Twitter at all. We don't look for people on Twitter at all. Twitter is a wonderful opportunity for people to communicate back and forth and to send things along and to follow people. And it's a very cool social thing to do. I don't know of a lot of instances where it's a very strong professional tool in using Twitter. It's a great way to beam out just a flood of message. It's a great way to beam out a whole bunch of information. But it can be very dangerous too. Just ask the President of the United States and he'll tell you. Cover letters, yeah. A lot of people don't like cover letters and they don't send them with their resume. So the question is, can you make one attachment to include both docs, the cover letter and the resume? Absolutely yes, and I encourage you to do it. Once again, the cover letter, what we're looking for is how are you phrasing the words, how are you phrasing the ideas in the cover letter to make me want to look at your resume? What is it in your resume that you're using in terms of words and paper that make me want to call you? So it's really, it's a progressive process. I want to see how you write. I want to see how you formulate your ideas in the cover letter to make me want to read your resume. Then once I read your resume, I want to talk to you. This is a person that I want to talk to. So in essence, the cover letter and the resume are there to get you past the first round hurdle, to get you past that first round of triage, to make me want to learn more about you. Some people try to say everything that they have to say in the resume. They try to put it all together so that there's really nothing left to say when I call you. I have all your information in front of me. There's no incitement for me to call you. Not enough information is you haven't piqued my interest to call you at all. So the delicate balance is, how do I provide enough information to tweak that person who's reading my resume to want to call me? Interesting article I read one time about a television show in my era called Starsky and Hutch, Two Cops. You guys don't know them. You might want to Google it. You'll see it. It was a cool show back in the day. The two guys going on the interview were part of a panel of 1,000 people going for this interview. They studied their lines. They studied everything else. They were having this thing. Everybody was going to walk in, do exactly the same thing. So they said, how are we going to do this a little bit different? We're going to walk in chewing peanuts. And the people doing the casting looked at it and said, where did it say chew peanuts? It didn't say chew peanuts anywhere. That's a cool addition to what they were doing. They didn't get the job based on that, but they piqued the person's interest enough to say, try this scene now, and how would you do that? So in your resume, in your cover letter, understand that there's probably 100 people looking at this job. What can you do a little bit differently, just a little tad differently, to make me want to reach out to you? That's all. Going down, I don't see anything on QAs, chats. I don't know if you have any other questions, comments, anything at all. Nasheen, anybody?
Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in. So in case if you think of anything else to ask or any questions from Laurie, you can always reach out to us and I would be happy to connect you with Laurie. So Laurie, should we call it off?
Yeah, if there's nothing else, pretty much run out of all the words I can pronounce.
Okay.
Jennifer, you're welcome. And next week, we're going to be talking about what employers are looking for when they're hiring people. So if you're so inclined, we'll be here same time next week, and we'll talk about those things. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. And I want to thank Ignite Fredericton for inviting me here. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much, Laurie, for all your time and support and all the information and all your knowledge that you share. And I'm sure it is extremely useful for whoever's listening to you. Thank you very much, all the participants. You will receive a link to provide feedback. So please take out a couple of minutes to do that. And we hope to see you again next week. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Bye, everyone.
See you next week. Bye.
Take care. Have a good day.
Cheers. You too.